What is basketball? It is a game played by two teams of usually 5 players, each on a rectangular court having a raised basket or goal at each end. Points being scored by tossing the ball through the opponent's basket. For now, let's talk about the original 13 rules of basketball by James Naismith. So now, the following list shows the original 13 rules of basketball as defined by Naismith in 1892. Modern rules are added so you can see how the game has changed over time and how it's remained the same. The following are the 13 rules of basketball.
The first rule of basketball by James Naismith is
the ball may be thrown in any direction with one or both hands. This rule still applies, with the exception that now a team is not allowed to pass the ball back over the midcourt line once they have taken it over that line.
The second rule of basketball by James Naismith is
the ball may be batted in any direction with one or both hands, never with the fist. And this rule still applies.
And the third rule of basketball by James Naismith is
a player cannot run with the ball. The player must throw it from the spot on which he catches it. Allowance to be made for a man who catches the ball running at a good speed if he tries to stop. Players can dribble the ball with one hand as they run or pass, but they cannot run with the ball when catching a pass.
The fourth rule of basketball by James Naismith is
the ball must be held in or between the hands. The arms or body must not be used for holding it. This rule still applies. Doing so would be a traveling violation.
The fifth rule of basketball by James Naismith is
no shouldering, holding, pushing, tripping, or striking in any way the person of an opponent shall be allowed. The first infringement of this rule by any player shall count as a foul. The second shall disqualify him until the next goal is made, or if there was evident intent to injure the person for the whole of the game, no substitute allowed. These actions are fouls. A player may be disqualified with 5 or 6 fouls or get an ejection or suspension with a flagrant foul.
The sixth rule of basketball by James Naismith is
a foul is striking at the ball with the fist. Violations of rules 3, 4, and such as described in Rule 5. This rule still applies.
And the seventh rule of basketball by James Naismith is
if either side makes 3 consecutive fouls, it shall count as a goal for their opponents. Consecutive means without the opponents in the meantime making a foul. Instead of an automatic goal, sufficient team fouls, 5 in a quarter for NBA play, now award bonus free throw attempts to the opposing team.
And the eighth rule of basketball by James Naismith is
a goal shall be made when the ball is thrown or batted from the grounds into the basket and stays there, providing those defending the goal do not touch or disturb the goal. If the ball rests on the edges and the opponent moves the basket, it shall count as a goal. This rule no longer applies as basketball is now played with a hoop and net, not the original basket. It has evolved into goaltending and defense pass interference rules, including that defenders cannot touch the rim of the hoop once the ball has been shot.
And the ninth rule of basketball by James Naismith is
when the ball goes out of bounds, it shall be thrown into the field of play by the person first touching it. In case of dispute, the umpire shall throw it straight into the field. The thrower in is allowed 5 seconds. If he holds it longer, it shall go to the opponent. If any side persists in delaying the game, the umpire shall call a foul on that side. The ball is now thrown in by a player from the opposite team of the player who last touched it before it went out of bounds. The 5-second rule still applies.
The 10th rule of basketball by James Naismith is
the umpire shall be the judge of the men and shall note the fouls and notify the referee when 3 consecutive fouls have been made. He shall have power to disqualify men according to Rule 5. In NBA basketball, there are 3 referees.
the 11th rule of basketball by James Naismith is
The referee shall be the judge of the ball and shall decide when the ball is in play, in bounds, to which side it belongs, and shall keep the time. He shall decide when a goal has been made, and keep account of the goals with any other duties that are usually performed by a referee. The referee still determines ball position, but timekeepers and scorekeepers now do some of these tasks.
and the 12th rule of basketball by James Naismith is
The time shall be 2 15-minute halves with 5 minutes rest between. This varies by the level of play, such as high school versus collegiate format. In the NBA, there are 4 quarters, each 12 minutes long, with a 15-minute halftime break.
and the 13th rule of basketball, which is the last, is
The side making the most goals in that time shall be declared the winner. In the case of a draw, the game may, by agreement of the captains, be continued until another goal is made. The winner is now decided by points, which does not equate goals made. In the NBA, 5-minute overtime periods are played in the case of a tie at the end of the 4th quarter, with a point total at the end determining the winner. If still tied, teams play another overtime period.
That would be all. Thank you and God bless.